from. However, he warned that crude oil prices have spiked again in the past 72 hours due to intensifying geopolitical tensions between Iran and Israel. Right, Isaac. Good reason, justifiable reason?
There couldn't have been any more justifiable reason than even imposing this in the first place. Oh. Yes, because when you are a government and you really plan in the medium to long term, you would have anticipated some of these global issues before coming up with the introduction of such a tax. Remember, the government from day one, from the State of the Nation's address to the budget, had never given Ghanaians any indication that they were going to introduce taxes. Now, when you are planning for the year, you would have had an idea where are your revenue streams, which taxes are you going to introduce, and which ones are you going to take out. So it was clear in their mind they were going to take levy, they were going to take away betting tax, they were going to, and they told us where they were going to fill the gaps from. They said they were going to reduce the refund account from 6% to 4%. They were going to decap the common fund and then get fund and so on and so forth. And so all of these things would have been made available for us to pay off our debts, including the energy crisis. So it was really a shock to Ghanaians and for us in Parliament when you wanted to introduce this MD levy in the back door of a state of emergency, certificate of emergency. If you come under certificate of urgency, the rationale is that if we don't deal with it on the day that we are doing, something will happen to this country. I said it at the committee level and on the floor, that why are we in a rush? We were now making modest gains from the CD appreciation and then fall in inflation and so on. So you needed to give the Ghanaian people some time to acquaint and to normalize with the situation. And then you can also look at the future turnaround. Because these hostilities, whether it is Iran, Israel war now or Russia-Ukraine war, though the president and the NDC government had not acknowledged in time past when the previous government was highlighting them as the reason for some of our economic challenges, there were always a turnaround when they have opportunity to still cite them, because we are not in isolation. We live in a global space, and we are not independent. We depend on a lot of these global issues. Fuel is global. Price of gold is global. They are all determined by external factors. And so when you have all these gains and then you want to introduce, and I questioned the minister, why 1 Ghana cedi per litre? If you want to introduce a levy, come with some, and the same thing during the e-levy, electronic levy. Government wanted 2%, 1.5. They said, oh, start with 0.5. So that people can get used to realize our money, and then over time you can make certain decisions. I said, why not start with 1 cedi per gallon, which would have been equivalent to 0.25 per litre, because already we were taking 0.95. So you add it like that. Now we were expecting 5.7 billion. If you do 1 cedi per gallon, you would have raised about 1.5 to 2 billion. That is significant enough to reduce your pressure. And if that had gone on, we would have started collecting the money without people complaining. Now you projected 5.7 billion. You thought under certificate of urgency, by the next 2 days you were going to implement. The company, the oil marketing company, they said, no, we needed time to adjust. Because you have only imposed the tax. We have to go and source funding to go and buy them. We need to calibrate our system to be able to do the collection. And GRA gave a set date. Now, in 3-4 days ago, there is fight in Israel and Iran. And global price of fuel has started shooting up. So we have moved from Russia-Ukraine war to Israel-Iran war. Now, who is singing that song? John Mahama. They didn't want to hear Russian-Ukraine war. Now they want us to hear Israel-Iran war. But that is the reality. Crude oil price used to sell at 64. Now it's gone to almost 79. And you'll be amazed to see that we'll be hitting the 80s if the war continues. So this pricing window, the projection of government was that the fuel price would go down and then the 1 Ghana per litre would have leveled it at the same 12 cedis per litre. Now, they've taken away, they've suspended the e-levy, the D-levy. They're saying that prices will still further go down because per the window, what is coming in has already been acquired. So it's falling to about 11 now. So without the D-levy, the price of fuel is coming down. But the next pricing window, which is what they are buying today, is going to take us almost double of what we have benefited. So if we are not careful and the price continues to surge, we will be looking forward to an increase in petroleum from 11 to maybe 13, 14. And that will be inching us closer to all the gains that we had made over the period of time. And that is why we even said at the minority level that when you wanted to introduce the D-levy, what are some of the gaps that you want to cure? That in case the pricing rises to a particular level, is it something that government was going to suspend the collection? Because we are only implementing or we were introducing it because of the gains. Should it shoot up again, would government reduce it? They said they were not going to incorporate that into it. Now we have suspended it. Suspended it till when? Suspended till when? So we've come to Parliament, you forced all of us overnight to pass a law. And now we've passed the law, you can't implement it. Now, if you are not implementing it, the challenge is if the prices even begin to go up, how is government preparing itself to accommodate those? It's going to dislocate a lot of our plans for this year. It's going to change. Now he's charged the Minister of Finance and Energy to meet and look at steps that we are going to take to address it. Dollar had come down to 10.2, 10.3. Now, apart from the interbank rate, go and check the market price for dollar. It's 13 plus in the open market. Now at the banks, you can't get dollar. You want to travel and you request, the banks, those times you can access not more than $10,000. Today they can't give you $2,000, $3,000 when you want to travel.
Hey, have you traveled? You've traveled?
Are you doubting what I'm saying?
Have you traveled?
I'll give you the evidence after this meeting.
You know, he intends to travel.
But I'm not one of those who want to put panic into the system.
Yeah, right.
Because we've come a long way in securing this gain. But that is why we say government ought to plan thoroughly. If they had listened to some of the advice we gave from the minority, and at times they think as minority, ours is just talking. Just talk. You have your say, you have our way. But we are representing the voiceless, the silent majority who cannot, even at some point, the majority themselves have concerns, but they can't voice it because it is a ship system. So some of us would get that indication. We put it before government, and government has to listen. Now, where are we? And if we had reduced the 1 cedi per litre to 1 cedi or 1.5 cedis per gallon, government would have made some money now. I'm sitting at the finance committee. We've met all the ESLA companies over the weekend. There is an energy deficit. We need to get money to pay up some of these shortfalls. So where are we going to raise the money
Your
from?
shortfalls are saying the debts that we've racked up.
Apart from the debts, we are always adding on to because
Yeah,
you see
because
the Minister of Finance.
every minute we add to the debts.
No. In the petroleum sector, in the energy sector, the Minister of Energy had told you that in the price build-up, even liquefied petroleum,
Has
they
not been
don't
factored
have
in.
not been factored in.
Yes.
So we are not even collecting, we are not even charging at
No, so we're basically not paying the right price for
Exactly.
utilities, or let's say
For utilities.
for power,
Exactly.
especially power.
Exactly.
Yes, we're not paying the right price.
And so these levies were supposed to come
In fact,
into.
Ato Forcing tells us that the government, in fact, John Jinapo tells us that they always have to look for money from Ato Forcing to go and buy liquefied, fuel or petrol to be able to power some of the plants that we have.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not been factored into the price build-up.
And that is why even when
In arriving at the tariffs,
last week through the weekend, we met all the power generation companies, ECG, Gridco, Netco, and we've listened to them at the committee level. We've heard and seen some of their challenges. There are certain measures we can put in place to remedy it. One we are not going because that's a committee deliberation, and so we are going to make those recommendations to the full house and then remedy. So there are several ways but when it comes to levying, it is one short step gap to collect money immediately to pay for some of these things. The difficulty is that now it's been suspended. So government plan and promise to all of these companies that give us 1 month, we are going to raise so much, we will start paying you, has all fallen off. And so we need to now know from government. And I'm going to ask an urgent question today. I'm filing an urgent question today to the Minister of Finance. I've written it here to come and explain to us what measures he's going to put in place to remedy this situation, because we need something to communicate and to assure the good people of Ghana that one, petroleum prices are not going to go up to the level that we had seen. Cost of electricity is not going to go up again to the levels that we don't anticipate to go. And then if these things are not going to happen, where are we going to get the funding from? And I think my colleague and I on the House of Parliament should think through and find a solution.